I'm Rob Thomas with Club and Resort Business, and welcome to another episode of the Club and Resort Talks podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Force Supply. For almost 80 years, Force Supply has been a leader in clubhouse and the club supply industry. Founded in 1945, Force Supply began by operating out of a two-car garage on Chicago's Northwest Side. Almost 8 decades later, much has changed in the industry, but Force Supply remains a leader and innovator, still focused on being a one-stop shop for all their customers. Learn more at forcesupply.com. That out of the way, let me introduce you to Phil Keren, our senior editor. Phil, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Rob. How are you?
Terrific. Hey, spring has sprung, but it's awfully cold up here in the Northeast. What do you think?
I know it's been a very odd winter here. We had a lot of nice mild days in January and February, and here in mid to late March now we're starting to experience what we normally experienced in January and February. So felt a little unfair to me. I thought we were through it. I thought we'd gotten through the winter doldrums, but I guess we have to get through a few more days like that.
I've been seeing a lot of memes lately going around saying something about, winter, first spring or early spring, and then second winter, and then another version of spring, and then right now we are currently in third winter. So
Yes,
hopefully third winter is usually about where it stops. So hopefully we'll get through this little brush and can start playing golf. April 1st is the date. So we were a little early.
we were. Yeah.
Now maybe we can be on time. So what are you seeing in the news, Phil?
Well, with the news this week, kind of some interesting stories this week. There was one about in Tonawanda, New York. There's a golf course called Brighton Park Golf Course. The town officials there are looking at the possibility of eliminating 6 of the 18 holes on the course to create space for development of single-family homes. Sounds like a lot of moving parts in the story right now, though. And as I understand it, the golf course is split by a road. And kind of an unusual split, though. Usually you might have like the front 9 on one side of the road and back 9 on the other. But in this case, actually, the first 3 holes and the back 9 are on the north side of the road. And then the 4th through 9th holes are on the south side of the road. And I guess, as I understand it, those holes I just mentioned are the ones they're looking at getting rid of to make room for housing development. I guess this town feels like they need more housing. But the possibility of this happening does not sit well with the vice president of the Brighton Park Golf Club Board of Directors. He was quoted in our story that we posted on clubandresortbusiness.com. He quoted in that story saying there will be a revolt from club members if this ends up happening. But it is still very much in the early stages. And as I understand it, to complicate matters further, I guess the town must have some kind of laws or zoning or regulations that if they have a development, brick and mortar development go somewhere on one piece of land, they need to then have preserve an equal amount of open space somewhere else. So they're looking at apparently trying to create a park at the site of a former landfill at Cherry Farm. It's called Cherry Farm landfill. So a lot of moving parts to it. I don't know whether something like that would ever materialize or not. And back on the board of directors comments, I do agree that, if a golf course at 6 of their holes eliminated for housing development, I think there definitely would be a revolt among members for sure.
Yeah, I love his passion. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in that article, they said that they reached him while he was away from town on a golfing trip with his buddies. So he's a passionate golfer, and I love his thoughts. And hopefully it won't be a revolt, but I'm sure there will be a lot of upset people, and it would not be a smooth transition. There'll be a lot of pissing and moaning, maybe some council meetings. We're used to seeing slices on a golf course, but when you're slicing 6 holes off of a golf course, that's a dicey situation.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it was interesting because that story also referenced the fact, we've talked about on the podcast how we have short courses now with oftentimes a 12-hole layout. And that story referenced the 12-hole layout stuff, but I thought, well, that's different because the stuff you guys are talking about are, it started off that way as a 12-hole layout. It's not a case where here we have an 18-hole course that might get shortened to a 12-hole course. And I would think another challenge that comes with it, of course, will be if they do end up making it 12 holes, you'll have to look at the possibility you can't charge as much for membership, and it might become a revenue issue. Or I don't know. I guess they'd have to try to figure out how to work that out. So a lot of complicating factors with that one for sure.
Stay tuned. We'll cover more as we see it.
Absolutely. So actually, I was in New York. We'll head all the way west to Arizona. Dobson Ranch Golf Course in Mesa, Arizona, doing an interesting thing with their driving range. They partnered with InRange to provide a technological system, I guess, called the gamification of practice, where you can set up a system where you can host different kind of contests, long drive closest to the pin, something called a shrinking target, which according to the story that's a challenge unique to the InRange system. Be interesting to learn more about that. They recently hosted a full range 30 plus bay team event situation with, I guess, the Arizona State baseball team. Big success. Matt Stark, Vice President of Partnerships for Dobson Ranch, he was quoted in this story saying, "Numbers don't lie. We are killing it right now." So good stuff. I like it. It sounds like they're almost kind of bringing in elements of Top Golf to the driving range. I think that's a great idea to make practicing golf a little more fun and add more of an element to competition to it. It seems appropriate considering the sport itself is competitive, and it's good to bring that to it.
Hey, we've had some good quotes on our stories this week, huh?
Yeah.
There'll be revolt, and then we're killing it. Yeah, I think that's great. I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of time at the driving range beating balls and just kind of looking at the ball. After a while, it gets kind of, boring. You get lazy. You can gamify it. It's even better, right? You can get as many swings in, if not more. It's a lot more fun than just beating ball after ball after ball. So good for Dobson Ranch.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny when I was looking at that story, getting ready for this today. I had memories of being on the high school golf team, and most days we would play 9 holes at our home course, as our practice after school. Every now and then we'd just be at the range, though, for whatever reason, logistical things or whatever. And yeah, it would get boring, but I can remember us doing various contests and stuff to kind of, which I think was a good thing, because it does keep you sharp, because it can get very tedious just hitting ball after ball without
Agree.
without a goal or direction, if you will. So looking ahead, another project coming up here, big project, or I'm sorry, not coming up. Let's say that again. Major project recently completed down at Atlanta Country Club, which of course is a longtime host of the PGA Tour's Atlanta Classic and the inaugural Players Championship. And that project was led by course designer Beau Welling, his firm Beau Welling Design. So we had a story on that this week as well. They had a lot of detail in there about what was done with the project. What I thought was interesting, though, they had added 13 forward tees throughout the course. So I thought that was an interesting idea to offering more options for tee placements and an increased variety of shot selections off the tee. And then, of course, we have fairway and greenside bunkers were adjusted a little bit as well. Existing cart paths were also rerouted to promote some proper drainage and increase course aesthetics. Sounds like a great project. Looks like it came together really well.
Forward tees are a brilliant thing. Obviously playing from the tips, you make it as hard as you can possibly make it, and the best golfers can play back there and be challenged. Forward tees, 13 of them, totally changes the golf course. Turn some of those long par 5s into something more manageable for our shorter hitters, kids, ladies, seniors, beginning golfers, whatever. It's a brilliant thing. A lot of stuff going on at Atlanta Country Club, and I love to see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great stuff to see there. Also, I forgot to mention they have they put in a hydronics temperature control system under each green. So that'll help out as well. So should be great for the players down there.
Well, this is an excellent segue, and because I talked to Scott Lambert, the superintendent, and David Birdwell, who's a member and a former club president during the whole process. He did all the hard work, the heavy lifting, and the current club president's getting to cut the ribbon. They were joking around about that. But that hydronic system is fantastic. It can pump cool water under the greens during those hot Atlanta, Georgia days, or warm water during the winter to keep the greens alive and fresh. And you can play year round down in Atlanta. Obviously, they do get some nasty weather, but the hydronic system is terrific, fantastic. New fairway turf as well. Zoysia, they even what they kind of growing in right now. The members are getting good lies. They love playing off of it. So stick around after we're done here because we've got Scott and David to talk about the renovation and also peering into their crystal ball, what might be coming down the road in say 5-10 years at Atlanta Country Club. A lot of stuff going on down there. So hey, stick around, take care, stay well, and have a great day. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. We have Scott Lambert, Atlanta Country Club Superintendent, and David Birdwell, a member and former club president, to talk about a major renovation project. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for taking the time to chat. Before we start anything else, what were the main objectives of the renovation project?
So I'll let David Birdwell answer that, and I'll chime in anything I want to add.
Okay. Well, the main objectives, we knew we had some aging infrastructure, particularly in our irrigation system. And so we started planning for this, 5 years ago, Scott?
That's correct.
And as part of that, we really realized kind of while you're there's a lot of things we needed to improve, like our drainage. We wanted to replace the fairways, which were original, they were 60 years old. Irrigation, some of the main lines were 60 years old. And while we had the opportunity and had the place torn apart, let's make some improvements while we're doing it.
So how did you choose Beau Welling?
Well, and I'll let Mr. Birdwell kind of elaborate more, but we had kind of a lunch meeting as a group, our long range planning committee, and we just kind of started throwing out names, architects, and he was one that actually our golf professional, Scott Schroeder, mentioned to us of somebody that he's worked with in the past at Mountaintop up in North Carolina. So I didn't know Beau personally at the time. And when Beau came out, really enjoyed just meeting with him, riding around with him, enjoyed his personality. And we went through a somewhat of a, I would call it a grueling interview process, but we had, all the architects in. I think that he really resonated well with our committee. He answered a lot of the questions that we were hoping to have answered. And I'll let Mr. Birdwell kind of add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, we did a pretty extensive RFP process, and I think we talked to 8 or 10 architects, and this was to start the master planning. And then we narrowed it down to 3, and then kind of Beau won that competition, and we were really pleased with how he approached it. He interacted with the membership very closely, and we got a lot of feedback from the membership to get their kind of thoughts and desires with this project too.
David, that's a perfect segue. My next question was going to be, what role did feedback from the membership play in not only selecting Beau, but what work was done at the club?
Yeah, well, one of the things he did was, we had a number of group meetings, kind of smaller group meetings. He surveyed the membership and the groups to kind of to look at. I mean, we looked at all different levels of issues or questions like, what are your least favorite holes? What are your favorite holes and why? What's the handicaps of our membership? And spent a lot of time with those groups, but not only kind of looking at the survey data, but digging down into it and understanding why they liked or disliked certain holes. And that helped drive some of the decisions we ended up making as a long range planning committee.
So in any major event like this, we're not only talking about today's members, but future members, whether they're,
Right.
next year, 10 years down the road, 15, 20. What role does the future play in what was done with this recent renovation?
I'll jump in, Scott. That was a big part, and that's a big part of what I think Beau's focus is how you grow the game and adapt to it going forward. And that's where we added 13 forward tees. We expanded our range by 40%. We kind of how the golf course and the clubhouse interact. We did a pretty big expansion off the back of the clubhouse, you know, to kind of expand our outdoor space. What else, Scott? What else am I missing?
Yeah, our short game area was lacking. We didn't have a lot of practice space. So when you kind of think about, juniors and others wanting to learn the game, we know we needed to expand our practice area and provide more hitting and practice area for everyone. We are very landlocked and we don't have a lot of room to expand, but Beau was very creative in coming up with some grading plans that allowed us to maximize some of the surface area to practice on.
Scott, this next question has got a bullseye right on you. The hydronics temperature control system underneath the greens. Can you please explain that, what it is basically, and how it affects course maintenance and playability?
Yeah. So the hydronic system that we installed, it was something that it kind of came into the fray kind of late for us. I'd always kind of known about a hydronic system, but it's something that it wasn't widely used. And Southern Hills in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when they had the PGA Championship there was a lot of, the advertisement, if you will, of the system. So we started really considering it. And basically what it is, it allows us to manage the soil temperature or control the soil temperature underneath the root zone of the green. So in the summertime, we can circulate cool water underneath a network of tubing that's underneath the root system of the green. So we can, in a sense, we could keep the soil temperatures regulated. And with bent grass greens, which is the kind of grass that we grow on our greens, it's a cool season grass, which in our hot summers in Atlanta, it tends to struggle in the summertime. So if we can help manage and control that soil temp, we could keep a healthier surface throughout the summer. And as we go into the fall months, the very favorable months to play golf in our area, we just have a healthier grass plant going into those months. And conversely, we can also warm the water in the winter. So if we needed to warm up the greens and try to provide some kind of growth in the wintertime, we could run circulate warm water underneath the green surfaces as well. So it's a great tool. Really excited to use it this summer. It should, and we should see a lot of benefit. Membership should see benefit from using it as well.
Yeah, I think of Atlanta as the South, but I remember, it's not too long ago that crazy cold temperatures at the Super Bowl, right? It wasn't like an icy situation. So I know you guys get some unfavorable winter weather. It's good that you guys are addressing that as well. Hey, sticking to the agronomy side, you switched from Bermuda grass to zoysia in the fairways. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the fairways, as David Birdwell mentioned, our fairway grass was original to when the club was built in the 60s. So it was time for a regrassing, and we have a lot of mature trees that flank the sides of the golf holes. So zoysia grass is more shade tolerant than Bermuda, and also zoysia provides a great winter surface when it's dormant. So we've seen a lot of success in Atlanta. Other clubs have had success with zoysia grass fairways. So we felt like we had a great property for zoysia, and so that was definitely one of the main components of our renovation as well. And so far, what we've seen when we opened the golf course in early March, the grass was still dormant, and it was just beginning to green up. So some of the first comments I got from the membership was, wow, the zoysia grass is so great to hit off of, even when it's not green. And so it's great hearing, those comments, because that was one of the reasons we selected it.
David, you got your finger on the pulse of the membership, obviously, being a member and also the past president. I understand the third hole and the 11th hole, par 3 and a par 5, had the most significant changes to them. What were you hearing from the members as to why, or maybe it was Beau's decision? What was going on with the 3rd and the 11th?
Well, on 3, and Scott may want to chime in here. It was just a hole that, and we've got 2 members that played professionally in Joe Inman and Larry Nelson, and they even commented it was their least favorite hole in the golf course. And when we did that membership polling, it showed that too. So we moved we expanded the tee boxes and we moved them left, and we moved the green right. It's a downhill par 3, and it provides a whole lot more pin placements and kind of takes a hill beyond the green somewhat out of play. You can still hit it down there, but everybody's been ecstatic about that change. And then 11 was probably our biggest change. It was a par 5, and it was by far, and really with all golf groups, whether it was men, women, higher, lower handicaps, that was the least favorite par 5 and really least favorite hole. And we moved the most dirt on that hole to bring a pond into play, so to bring a water feature more into play that was behind the green. I think we lowered that green, 15 feet, Scott?
Mm-hmm.
Sound right? Yeah. And so from the tee box, you can now see the green, see the water beyond it. Much more, there's bunkers in the fairway. We moved a lot of the dirt that brought that green down back into the fairway, and we also used some of it to raise the fairway on 15. And so it was kind of a great use of the dirt that we moved to use it in other places. And people have been very pleased. Kind of the first 3 weeks of using the golf course, people have been ecstatic about that hole. It's gone from somewhat of a mundane par 5 to one that's, I think, may be one of our favorite holes when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Just to quickly follow up on that, when we were doing a lot of our work with Beau, initial work, our par 5s were always kind of the weakest part of our design. I mean, we have very strong par 4s. Par 3s are very unique. Other than hole 18, which is a par 5 finishing hole, we had this kind of, we just didn't have a lot of, the par 5s just weren't super strong. So we knew we wanted to take one and try to really transform it into something, to add some strategy. And I think that we had definitely accomplished that on 11.
Speaking of strategy, guys, the bunkers and greenside, the greenside bunkers and fairway bunkers, you've also done some adjustments with those, and I believe Bunker Solutions was brought into play. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we Bunker Solutions, which is the bunker liner that sits underneath the sand. That is a liner that, based on the bunker style that we chose, we wanted to build a bunker that had a high sand flash face. And the way the Bunker Solution product is designed is it's essentially almost like a carpet type material, an AstroTurf type material, and it helps kind of hold and lock the sand in place. So when we have our steep sand faces, with other style liners, you can tend to have the sand can move and slough off of the face where you don't have a proper depth of sand, and which leads to the faces becoming exposed and things like that. Just not a good look. And when we were designed our bunker style, the Bunker Solutions just really fit the mold for the infrastructure portion. So we've been very pleased with it so far, and just really excited to have it in the ground and manage it.
So we're talking golf. Golf's obviously a massive component to not only the club, but this particular renovation. But more was done around the clubhouse and some of the other amenities. Can you guys talk a little bit about what else took place at the club?
Sure. One of the things while we were moving all this dirt, we realized we really needed some more outdoor space, both from just a membership usage and for special events. So we had this opportunity to kind of move our halfway house, which was underneath the clubhouse, to a separate new halfway house. It's just between the 9 green and on your worst, this 10th fairway, 10th green, 10th tee box. And that created a really, really nice patio area, and then adjacent to it, a huge event lawn where we can have weddings or receptions. It makes it a little easier on Scott's team to try to maintain grass on there when there's events being held on it. So we're super excited about that. And every time I play lately, since we've reopened, I've noticed people, obviously the weather in Atlanta right now is getting really nice, people sitting on that back patio, which is what we had hoped to see as we took that on.
All right, David, while I got you, I want to hear from Scott as well,
Yeah.
but I want you guys both to take out your crystal balls. Look down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. What's next for Atlanta Country Club, and what can we possibly see into the longer range?
Well, I can say, we've now taken on the golf course, and, there's always projects to do on it, but because it was pretty comprehensive. I mean, we basically, regressed almost the whole golf course except for some of the rough. That we'll be focusing, we have a master plan that actually Beau Welling and his team helped us with on our pool and tennis and fitness area. As you probably know, in your business, pickleball's become pretty big. That's one that we'll be looking at, just doing some reinvestment in that area. And in particular, our pool will probably be a focus in the near future. Security is another one that we're looking at. Just we're kind of open within a neighborhood, and that's another one we'll be focusing on too.
Yeah, I would say from the golf course perspective, we have such a rich history of competitive golf at Atlanta Country Club, and we'd really want to revitalize that. Have some state, tournaments here, some state amateur events. We really want to attract some good competitive events here because of our tradition and what we've done to the course. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was down in your area not too long ago, a couple of years ago now, at the Atlanta Athletic Club when they went through a renovation. I'm looking forward to getting down to the Atlanta Country Club and seeing this thing firsthand. David and Scott, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you having us.
Yep. Thanks for having us.